One topic that people have been talking about a lot within the conservative movement is outreach into minority communities. And I've been discussing this, particularly the Black community. Recently in the state of Missouri, I gave a speech to the Cape County Republican Women's Club. And just a few weeks ago, I was in Indianapolis participating in the Smart Girls Summit on a panel called Minority Outreach, Politics or Pandering. I also wrote an article for the Southeast Missourian on the same topic, the GOP message and the Black community. And I was talking about the fact that it is important that we reach out into the Black community because that community is in such need for the conservative message. What I find interesting, though, is that whenever the topic of reaching out to Blacks or reaching out to Hispanics comes up, some people get very bothered by that. And they immediately say, we don't need to target the Black community. We don't need to reach out to the Black community. The Black community needs to understand what the GOP has to offer. And I can understand that because I used to say the same thing. I used to say the GOP message is the right message. The GOP message is the message for all of America. Therefore, it's the message for all of Americans. But I've come to understand something. Look, I'm in agreement. The message is right. Our messaging needs some help. So this is what I've been trying to understand. Why is it that people get so upset when you start talking about reaching out to the Black community? Yet they don't find anything wrong with politicians going to this community or that community or knocking on this door or shaking this hand. Isn't that what politicians do? That's what politicians do. We talk about retail politics. We talk about that politician who's able to connect with people, who's able to take their message and bring it to people, who goes on those doors and knocks on those doors. Why? Because that politician believes that he or she has something to offer, and they want to make sure that every single person gets to hear that message so that they know what they're offering, so that they know what they have to vote for, so that their lives would be better. How is that any different than going into the Black community? How is that any different from going into the Hispanic community? Why is it okay when they're knocking on your door or when they're knocking on the street across town? Why is it okay when they go visit the Tea Party meeting, or when they go to the sportsman's club, or when they go to the senior citizens home? Why is it not pandering then? Why is that just good politics? But then when you throw in the Black community or the Hispanic community, then all of a sudden there's a problem, because now you're targeting them and they should know that what we have to offer. There is no difference. There is no difference. If you believe that your message is worth sharing, I heard someone say recently, then it's not pandering. It's right. It's what you do. It makes sense. If I can go to your neighborhood, then I can go to somebody else's neighborhood with the same message that I believe will bring them something that they need. And we know the Black community needs the conservative message. We need this message of freedom. We need this message of personal responsibility. We need this message of economic freedom. We need the conservative message. We need the message of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. And so if you needed the message, and if your neighbor needed the message, what makes you think that my neighbor doesn't need the message, or somebody else's neighbor doesn't need the message? We as a movement have to believe enough in what we have that we're willing to take it to the four corners of the earth if possible, if necessary. So I'm just going to say, if you get bent out of shape when we start talking about reaching out to different types of people, you might just want to stop and say, why? Why is that any different from anything else politicians have always done since the beginning of time? I'm Adrienne Ross. More at motivationtruth.com. That's www.motivationtruth.com.